Hi and welcome to today's episode, in which I give you 3 different sandwich filler ideas which are going to be great both for lunch and emergencies. I'm in the grip of a really bad insomnia and fatigue flare-up, which is a disgusting combination, let me tell you. Lying in bed all night, can't sleep, and then I end up sleeping all through the day. It's wonderful. My energy levels are very low, but I haven't filmed anything in 2 weeks and I want to get something done, partly to satisfy the algorithm, but also because it is mentally stimulating and ticks a lot of my boxes. So I've been thinking of what I can make that's not too much, not too high intensity on my body. I was making a very quick dinner last night and I chucked a can of chickpeas into some leftovers, and that kind of gave me the idea of showing you how to make 3 different kind of sandwich fillers that are nice and easy to put together and great for last minute meal ideas, or if you just need a snack quickly, something like that. When it comes to chickpeas in combination with bread, I can't not show you how to make some hummus. Hummus hails from, I want to say it's either the Middle East or the Mediterranean. My instinct says the Middle East first and then kind of filter down to the Mediterranean. And it's a combination of chickpeas, olive oil, garlic, that kind of thing. And then the key ingredient is tahini. Tahini is a paste made out of sesame seeds. So I think peanut butter, but with sesame seeds. They just blend it down till it becomes a paste. That's what gives hummus that distinctive kind of taste. It's a little bit tangy, a little bit earthy, that kind of flavour. If you can't get it, don't worry about it. You're still going to have something that tastes fairly nice because of the other things we're going to put in there. But if you want it to taste authentic like you buy in the shops, you do need some tahini. It does keep for years in the fridge. So buy a jar and then you've got some, for years to come. After the hummus, I'll then do like crushed chickpea in some cream cheese and yogurt. It's a bit like a chickpea mayonnaise kind of thing, but without the mayo because I don't have any in. And then the last thing I'll do will be a warm, like a hot dish. So I'm going to fry off some onions and bell peppers, throw in the chickpeas and then add some spices. I'm going to have that as a wrap burrito type of thing with some couscous, I think, some pickled carrots. Nice and easy. The cooked one is going to take the longest, and even that's going to be fairly quick. If you want lots more ideas on how to take really humble ingredients and turn them into something delicious, if you like this video and subscribe to the channel, and then you can tap the bell icon and you'll be alerted as soon as anyone's published. The first thing I'll do is make up the kind of pickling liquid for the carrots. I don't need a massive amount, so I'm just going to use a little saucepan. I'm going to do half a teaspoon of crushed green peppercorns. Do a good grind of black pepper. Quarter teaspoon or so. Green peppercorns are a bit milder than black ones, but in things like this, just use whatever's tasty, whatever you like. I'll do a teaspoon or so of pink peppercorns. They just have a nice peppery flavour that's also a little bit fruity. Half teaspoon of coriander seeds. Half teaspoon of cumin seeds. And a half teaspoon of caraway. This is probably way too much spices for the quantity of carrots that I'm going to do, but that's fine. Then I'm going to do half teaspoon or so of salt. Then I'll do a couple tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. You can use any kind of vinegar in here. You don't put the malt vinegar on, the stuff that you put on chips. You can, but it's not going to taste wonderfully pleasant. And I wouldn't necessarily use a balsamic, although you might get an interesting kind of flavour profile. But things like apple cider, white wine vinegar, you could use like Chinese rice wine vinegar. And then I'm going to top that up with boiling water. And then put this on the stove and put it on a low simmer. So mine goes up to 9. I'll probably put it on 3, maybe 4. Canned chickpeas come with a liquid inside the tin that's called aquafaba. I'm going to save mine, put it in like an ice cube tray and then just freeze it, because you can use that as an ingredient. I've used it to make chocolate mousses in the past. I also used it in the twiglets and one of the granolas that I made a while ago, because it makes things go shatteringly crisp without having to use oil, which is great. And it's a dead nice thing to have in the freezer. So I'm going to decant it into a jar. That's the aquafaba out of 1 jar. So you get kind of 150 mils or so. I'm going to put the chickpeas into my bowl. I'm not going to rinse them or anything. The aquafaba, that's kind of the light amount that's on the chickpeas. That'll be a nice little bit of lubricant, bit of moisture, that sort of thing. I'll do about a tablespoon of olive oil. I'm using extra virgin. Then I'll do a bit of salt and pepper. Like a quarter teaspoon of each or so. I'm going to start with a half teaspoon of garlic powder. You can use fresh as well, but I'm just going to use dried and save a bit of time. And I think I'm going to do a little touch of garlic powder as well. Only about a quarter teaspoon. That's more just for a bit of umami depth rather than onion flavour. Here's the tahini. You might find that the oil separates from the solid in the jar. Just get a knife in the jar and whip it round and it will melt back together again. So I think I'll start with a tablespoon and see what that's like. It has got quite a bold flavour that can be a bit overpowering, so it's best to add a little bit at a time. And then I'm going to do a little squeeze of lemon juice, maybe half a teaspoon to start. I'm going to use my little stick blender for this. You can make it in the food processor as well, that's fine. And then just go in, give it a blitz. I think that's probably all of the blending that I'm going to do. Personally, I prefer hummus a bit rougher. I don't like, I like a bit of texture in there rather than a completely smooth paste. But that's very much a personal preference kind of thing. If you're struggling to get it as smooth as you want it, just add in a bit more oil. Add a bit more, blend it, add a bit more, that kind of thing. So there's a couple of chickpeas that I've missed, but that's absolutely fine. So I'm going to check the flavour to see if I want any more tahini in there. Yeah, I'm going to do another tablespoon, another bit of lemon juice, another tablespoon of olive oil. Hummus is one of those that it is a little bit of effort, but the cost savings are incredible. I mean, I've seen hummus for £4 for a small tub, whereas a can of chickpeas, because you can buy really basic, cheap chickpeas for this. You can buy a can of chickpeas for 45 pence. I'm just going to finish off the jar. So it's probably another teaspoon. If I had more, I'd maybe do another tablespoon. Keep adding it in till it tastes good. A little pinch more of salt and perhaps a touch more olive oil, just to loosen it off. I'm going to do another half a lemon juice. It tastes good as it is, but I'm in the mood for something very zingy. Touch more salt. Perfect. Move on to the next one, which is going to be the crushed chickpeas with like yogurt and cream cheese. I'm not going to bother cleaning the bowl because I might as well keep that flavour and add that into the next dish. But what I think I'll do at this point is do the carrots for the pickled carrots, and then that can be kind of doing its thing while I make everything else. I've got 4 largish carrots. I'm going to take off the outer skin with the speed peeler. Yeah, I'm just going to switch this for a larger bowl because I need to be able to lift the carrots up. If it was in that one, it was just going to go everywhere. I've got this julienne peeler. So if you can see, it's got serrated teeth. I don't know if I want it bigger than that. I think I'm going to take it to kind of that thickness of the carrot with the julienne, and then I'll use the speed peeler on the rest, maybe. Just so then there's a few slightly thicker pieces. You can do this in the mandolin or in the food processor. There's the pickling liquid. So I'm going to pour that over. And then I'm just going to use a couple of forks just to mix everything around. And then I'm going to cover it. And then I'll just leave that off to the side. Probably try and remember to stir it every now and then. Okay, on to the second one. I want a little bit of crunchy texture in this one. So I'm going to add in some celery. So I think I'll split this in half. Try and do very fine slices. So that's what I want. If you see any of these stringy bits, just pull that off like a zipper. I'm going to do about a tablespoon of olive oil. I'm going to do a couple tablespoons of vegan cream cheese. Like I say, you can use mayonnaise as well in here. Do about a teaspoon of dried mixed herbs. About a teaspoon of onion powder. And a teaspoon of garlic powder. Pinch of salt. Good grind of black pepper. I'm going to use a potato masher for this. Feel free to use the stick blender again, but I want this quite rough. Crush the chickpeas first. Might have been a better way of approaching this because the celery is getting in the way of the holes. Just get a fork in. I'm going to check the flavour. I think I might just put some cream cheese in, more cream cheese. So I'll do another tablespoon. To make it a little bit looser, I'm going to pour in a bit more of the aquafaba. So like a teaspoon. If you want to take this mixture into a kind of egg salad type direction. Don't add the regular salt, just use black salt. It's got a really high sulfur content, so it tastes quite eggy. Yeah, perfect. The third recipe I'll show you is going to be spiced chickpeas. I'm heating up about a tablespoon of olive oil in the pan. And then I'm going to fry off one large red onion that's got medium large dice on it. I've got two sort of medium small bell peppers here. I've got one red, one orange. So we'll do the onions, then I'll add the peppers, chickpeas, and then we'll start doing the spices. And then that's it done. Okay, so once the oil comes up to temperature, drop in the onions. Just toss them around, get everything covered in oil. I'll fry these off until they go translucent and a little bit golden brown in places. I'll add in some salt at this stage, about a quarter teaspoon. That will help pull the moisture out of the onions so it caramelizes a bit faster. While the onions are frying off, I'm going to mix up some maple syrup. This is about 1.5, 2 teaspoons, something like that. I'll combine that with the juice of a lime. To get more juice out your fruits, just give them a bit of a roll on the counter. Not super hard because you don't want to splatter it, but just enough to break down the cells inside. Become very spongy. This liquid will give some really nice flavour, but it's also going to help the spices stick onto the mixture. Now these are fried off. Probably got a bit too dark in places, but that's fine. Chuck in the peppers. And then we'll fry these off for a couple minutes until they start kind of softening up a little bit, letting some of the moisture out. I'm going to toast off these seeds in the air fryer. That's going to go in the couscous. To do that, I've put it in a little tin and I'm going to cover it with a little lid that's got holes punched in it. This is from a takeaway. And just punch loads of little holes. Because the seeds are very lightweight, if you put those straight in the air fryer, because the fan is so powerful, they're just going to get blown away. Cover it with a lid and then you won't have that issue. Peppers have been frying for about 5 minutes or so. And the sound will change. It's very sizzly when you first put things in, but less so now, which means a lot of the moisture has come out. So now I'm going to add in the chickpeas. So each time I've used a full can of chickpeas. I think the drained weight is like 280 grams, something like that. Stir. Can you hear how the sound has changed again? Because the chickpeas had the aquafaba on there. Fry those chickpeas off for a few minutes. They're cooked, so it's not that we need to cook anything again. The spices I'm going to put in here, I'm going to use cayenne pepper for heat, garlic granules for garlicky flavour, and then I'm going to use some of this ras el hanout. The literal Arabic translation is head of the shop, so it's like a blend of the shopkeeper's best spices. It's the Middle Eastern equivalent of garam masala, so feel free to use that. Pour in the lime juice and maple syrup. Stir everything round, and I'll do a good teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, do a teaspoon to start with of the ras el hanout. Give that a really good mix together. If you don't want the maple syrup, if you're trying to cut out sugary things or whatever, just use a bit of the aquafaba maybe. You could also use agave nectar, some sugar syrup, something like that. Because maple syrup gives it a nice kind of depth of flavour. I'm going to drop the heat down a little bit. So I've got it on 4 now. Check the flavour. Yeah, perfect. So now I'm just going to assemble a wrap, get some crackers, bit of toast I think, and we'll do some eating. Time to try out our trio of delicious little chickpea goodies. So that's the garlic and herb one. Then we've got the hummus in the middle, quickly made up a wrap. So it's got the seeded couscous there, then the quick pickled carrots, and then we've got the chickpea mixture over there. A tip for when you're making your wraps, you want to be working with warm tortillas, just makes them a bit more flexible. I just put one in the microwave for 30 seconds, makes it nice and pliant. And there's the 3 bowls of goodies. Quick pickled carrots there, and then a bit more of the couscous. Hummus first. It's tangy and vibrant because of the lemon juice. The tahini gives it that very earthy, delicious hummus flavour. And there's a really nice amount of texture in there as well. It's not just puree. If you want that even looser, kind of even softer, add more oil, more lemon juice, or some of the aquafaba, and that'll make it more kind of liquid. Now you've got the basic hummus recipe down, you can start adding other bits and pieces to it. I've seen people do like beetroot, so puree down some cooked beetroot, put that in. You can also easily adapt it by putting into a wider dish, so it's thinner and wider, and then drizzle the top with different things. You could get a jar of sun-dried tomatoes in oil, drizzle a little bit of the oil over, and then chop the tomatoes down to small pieces and scatter those over the top. Toasted pine nuts, herbs, all of that kind of thing, caramelized onions even. Yes, it's a very easily adapted recipe, and served with some warm pita bread. Yum. Go with the garlicky herby one. It's like Boursin, but better. Because it's got the raw celery and the chickpeas are all different shapes and sizes. It's a really nice amount of texture. I reckon that would be tasty as well with sun-dried tomatoes. So skip the olive oil, put the sun-dried tomato oil in, and then chop down the tomatoes, mix it through. That'd be great. Or maybe some roasted peppers. So once you've got the basic, kind of the bones of the recipe down, then you can start adding all kinds of different things in. Onto the little wrap one. If I'd have thought about it a bit better, I could have had the chickpeas on the top, but I didn't. I had to make a massive effort not to pile loads of the components in, because it makes it a complete nightmare to roll tightly and then it all falls apart, because you want something that's nicely contained and portable. All right. That's fantastic. Chickpeas have got a slight bit of sweetness from the maple syrup, but it's balanced really nicely with the lime juice and then those lovely spices that we put in. That's great. I put the carrots in there for texture, so they've got a nice bit of crunch, also some spices and a bit of brightness from the vinegar. It's not essential, but it definitely adds something. It's worth doing if you can be bothered. Feel free to use something like kimchi, sauerkraut, anything. You just want texture in there. That's what you're trying to get. And, you know, obviously some nutrients as well. I opted for couscous because it's quick. You just boil water in the kettle, put it over, and then just let it soak in, and that's it, cooked. And then added seeds in for crunch. But you could use rice, bulgur wheat, quinoa. I did think about doing quinoa, but just in the end thought, do couscous, it's less work. For me, in a wrap burrito kind of thing, I like having a mix of different things. So like a grain, a carbohydrate, the main component, and then other bits. You could put some plain yogurt on there, like a little drizzle. That would work quite nice. All three of those will work really nicely with different beans as well. So you could change the chickpeas out for cannellini beans, butter beans, kidney beans, just because they've got that very distinctive flavour. I mean, the cooked one, the hot one, that'd work with kidney beans, but the other two probably not so much unless you love that flavour. Or you could do a mixture of different beans. So it's very adaptable in multiple ways. It's that part of the video where I bestow lots of love and affection for my supporters on Patreon. In addition to keeping the channel financially afloat, it also provides a nice bit of community feeling for me, bit of support, which is really nourishing for my soul. I'll leave the link down in the description for you if you want to sign up. As well as the support, you'll also get access to some bonus content. If you're new to the channel, it'd be wonderful if you could like this video, because that really does help, you know, boost the engagement, show the algorithm that this is something that should be shown to more people. And then subscribe to the channel if you want lots more vegan recipes. I think at this point there's at least 150 videos on the channel, so lots of inspiration there for you. You can turn on notifications if you want to be alerted as soon as a new one's published. And then while you're waiting for next week's, have a look at this.